Hi, my name is Dr. John Douillard, and welcome to LifeSpa.com, where we prove the ancient medical wisdom of Ayurveda with modern science. And today I want to talk about Ojas, one of the most fundamental principles or concepts in Ayurveda is this substance called Ojas. The ancient texts say that Ojas is the very, very first substance manifested in every living thing. It means translated vitality or vigor. So it's our vigor and our vitality. It also is translated as the physiological aspect of our own consciousness. So it's deeply, deeply subtle. It's sort of the allure to become more spiritual. It's that Ojas, that vitality we need to go, yes, change the world and build houses and feed ourselves, but it's also that Ojas is that lure that takes us within. And we need energy and vitality and vigor to go inward and become more self-aware as well. When you don't have a lot of energy, we tend to just go and do stuff to get us more energy. Buy more things to give us a reward chemistry, or drink more coffee to give us more energy stimulated by something outside of us. But Ojas is something different. Ojas is a kind of deep level base energy that, yes, gives you the energy to go do those things, change the world, engage in your passions in life, but also not forgetting that deep underlying level of silence and self-awareness that makes us tick. And the science shows that when you engage in Ojas building activities, being more loving and kind and giving and caring, that it changes us at a very, very deep level. Our good bugs, our beneficial bacteria proliferate in a massive way. The telomeres in our chromosomes that are indicative of our stress levels and our aging actually lengthen when we're actually doing these Ojas-like activities. We know that epigenetically, we change our genetic code when we give and love and care for others in a deep way, a deep, compassionate way. We have all kinds of science, like the hormone Oxytocin. When you hug and care and bond and love another, that these hormones begin to rise that are linked to longevity and optimal health. So Ojas is sort of all of these things. There are Ojas-like substances that I want to talk about. The big mystery is what is Ojas, and we want to dig into that a little bit. But there are Ojas-like substances that come when we live in what Ayurveda called a sattvic environment, a loving, giving, kind, peaceful, caring environment. Yes, we have the ability to fight battles. Our microbes are fighting battles all the time, but they thrive in a peaceful environment. So we, as in the microcosm, as is in the macrocosm, when we look at how we live our life, if we lived in a traditional sense, living off the land, how we sort of evolved to get here, it was peaceful, living in nature, becoming one with nature. Science shows us that we have a nature deficiency disorder and therefore an Ojas deficiency, a lack of that deep vitality that draws us to knowing the truth about who we truly are. And it allows us to become fascinated by the outside world, overstimulated by the outside world, and therefore depleted by the outside world. Because the more you stimulate and use things to inject you with coffee and stimulants and sugar that give you energy sort of by injecting you, sort of what goes up must come down. It leaves us depleted. We borrow from Peter to pay Paul to make energy we don't really have. We eventually go into debt. So we have to eventually pay back that debt. That's sort of the way we live our life in a lot of ways in the West. We stimulate ourselves to make it through the week, and we crash and burn and recover on the weekends. Where Ojas is a deep level of vitality that is rejuvenative. The more you make, the more you get. And so the more sattvic your environment is, the more sattvic and loving and giving and caring for others your lifestyle is like, the more energy you get. So it's pretty cool. We don't get depleted by giving, we get filled up by giving. So there's a couple of things. Oxytocin is a hormone that oftentimes is considered in the running for what Ojas might be. But there's two types of Ojas in the body. One is called para Ojas, which is supreme Ojas, and one is called apara, which I think there are many apara-like substances like oxytocin. The the hormone of longevity and bonding and caring for others, is one that may be a precursor to the supreme ojas. We also know that melatonin, oxytocin, cannot be made without being in the presence of melatonin. Melatonin is a precursor to that. So therefore, and melatonin is the substance it is the oldest molecule on the planet. It does fit the bill that every living creature has it, and it's the first molecule made. It's literally a 3 billion year old molecule. So it's possible that melatonin is in the running as well. I wrote a whole article on why melatonin might be more ojas-like. And if you think of melatonin not just as the sleep agent and the jet lag agent, which it's not, you start to understand a whole lot more about the subtlety of melatonin. And the science is now linking low-dose melatonin to the more profound and significant benefits, which again, supports the idea that the most subtle things in Ayurveda are always going to be the most powerful. So you can read about that. I've written an article here that associated with this video. I'd love for you to guys check it out, more about Ojas and how it really works. It's your deep core level vitality. It's made from the process of digesting your food, which takes 30 days to take place in a complete way. So your Ojas isn't made fully and completely until 30 days after you have your lunch today. It's going to take a month for that to be developed. And along the way, you can digest your food, get some nutrition, get rid of some waste, but you may not produce Ojas if you interrupt that cycle with stress. There are 7 tissues in the body that are made, and each time you make a tissue, like lymph is the first one, then blood, then muscle, then fat, then bone, then nerve, and then reproductive tissue. Along the way, you squeak out a little of this, what's called apara ojas, this not so supreme ojas, to feed the building blocks of the body to finally make reproductive tissue, to finally actually make ojas, the supreme ojas. And that's sort of how it works. But if you're stressed out, over-exercising, engaging in excessive activity, working nights, working late, pushing yourself really hard, over-aggressive, over-competitive, overly sexual, any extreme activity, whether it be sports or anything, can be a depleting experience of ojas. Think of my favorite analogy is the eye of the hurricane. The bigger the eye, the bigger the calm, the more powerful the winds. The runner's high was the zone. My best race was my easiest race. I wrote about that in my first book, Body, Mind, and Sport, all about how that when we create that inner experience of composure and calm, we are then more productive. We can then handle more stress. We can then accomplish that much more. So the rule is to create that eye of the storm, that ojas first, and then from there, the winds can build around that silence, and we become way more productive, way more powerful, way more joyful and able to experience the passion in our life. So it's a very, very cool thing. So one thing, understand that there are foods that can build ojas. Any fresh, natural food that is coming out of the ground without humans messing with it, cooking with it, baking with it, doing anything to it, anything that comes out of the ground is going to be fresh, non-processed, and unrefined, is going to be an ojas building food. These foods have a lot of potassium in them. High potassium foods come out of the ground. A nut, an almond, has 300 milligrams of potassium and 1 milligram of sodium, salt. And there's a ratio between your sodium and your potassium that's very, very important. It's called your sodium-potassium pump. And it drives electricity. That's why they're called electrolytes. And that is the vigor of the body. And every cell has a pump that makes this vigor, that makes this electricity. Your body and mine make more energy, electricity, than a nuclear power plant, pound for pound, because of the sodium-potassium pump that's in every cell of the body, which depends on us having about 4 times more potassium, natural, whole, unprocessed, unpackaged, without a wrapper food, to the salt and the sodium that we have in our diet, which is excessive. Every time you want to preserve a food or package a food or make it taste better, we add salt to it. Salt is also an electrolyte, but the ratios have to be right. And potassium foods are high ojas foods. So one of the building blocks for ojas are naturally occurring whole foods out of the ground, plant-based. Even meats have high potassium before you actually put salt on them. And therefore can be even ojas building. But most importantly, are some of the foods that are the classic Ojas builders. 2 herbs like ashwagandha and shatavari and tulsi are classic Ojas builders. Almonds are classic. Coconuts are classic. Dates are classic. Saffron maybe one of the best Ojas builders, and thank God you just need a little bit of it. Milk, whole milk, could be coconut milk and almond milk, but they're also Ojas builders as well. Ghee, and of course raw honey. And that is a drink that was classically made in Ayurveda, where you take that drink and you cook it in milk and you drink it before you go to bed, and the peptides in the milk lower cortisol levels and helps people sleep. It's a powerful rejuvenative Ojas building tonic that we use. We have a product called the Ojas Nightly Tonic with all that in it. You can make it yourself. The recipe to make it yourself is in the article associated with this video, so you can watch it, do it yourself. But drinking this milk has been shown to actually help people, combat or knock down the cortisol at night and allow the melatonin to kick in to give you that deep sleep that we need, so the melatonin can then go do its job, which is to rebuild and rejuvenate the body and fight off any possible infection. And that's what it is. So Ojas building foods are important. Whole, unrefined foods are really important. They're potassium-rich Ojas building blocks. Nature is really important. Get out into nature. Immerse yourself in the silence of nature. Close your eyes by a stream and connect with the rhythms of nature. It's very, very powerful. Meditation was found to upregulate some almost 5,000 genes of ours in a positive way. Meditation is I wrote an article about this, is nature a biohack for connecting with the rhythms of nature that we evolved and grew with for millions of years, because we were instilled with and surrounded by the rhythms of nature. Then we came into civilizations and bigger cities, that we needed something to restore that inner silence, that inner core level of Ojas. And meditation actually provides that. It might even be an improvement on what nature may have provided, because it happens in 20 minutes. You get this incredible, powerful, upregulation of positive gene expression, which is just phenomenal just from meditation. And there's good science to back that up, and I've written about that as well. But nature can do the same thing. There's about, I think it's 72 or 62 forests in Japan that have been proven to be therapeutic, where just being in that forest has therapeutic benefits that have been measured. And it's not just their forest, it's any forest, any connection with nature that we desperately miss when we're surrounded by cell phones and cities and cars and traffic. We need to restore that inner silence, and that inner silence is actually, in some ways, called or part of our Ojas. Part of the experience of that silence is when Ojas lures us to go within, and kind of diffuses that fascination to only go out and get your satisfaction from the outside world. And that's an interesting concept in this culture, which is so crazily addicted to the outside world and what it can provide for us in terms of stimulation and satisfaction. And fewer and fewer seem to be willing to go in and be attracted by the lure of Ojas. And when you have depleted Ojas, the lure is not there. So that's what Ojas building is all about. In this article, I give you step-by-step ways to rebuild your Ojas and get it back, and with the food seed, and give you all the details. I've written a ton about this subject. It's a really important subject, I think, more than ever, because we need to reestablish that inner silence that is the core of who we are. Thank you for listening. I'll talk to you next week. Do you like this video? Don't forget to subscribe and share.
This recording is brought to you by LifeSpa, where ancient Ayurvedic wisdom meets modern science. Get access to free health video newsletters by Dr. John at LifeSpa.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.